Tonight in the shed is the turn of the brakes. We have a set of Hope Mono Minis married to an M4 caliper. Now we're going to be servicing the caliper. We're going to be taking all the pistons and replacing all the seals. Now the M4 is a 4-piston caliper. Essentially it's a downhill brake caliper. The M stands for mono as it's machined from a single billet of aluminium. This gives us a little bit of a tricky situation in terms of how to get those pistons out. There are borehole caps on 2 of those pistons, but not on the 2 inboard pistons. We can get all of them out relatively easily as long as we follow a very set order of play. If you try and jump ahead of yourself, then you're going to end up having to reassemble what you've taken apart so far, rebleed and start again, which is something we really don't want to do. So, what do we need to service our Hope calipers?
The seal kit for your Hope brakes, isopropyl alcohol or disc brake cleaner, dot fluid, Hunter silicone lubricant, a rubber hose for bleeding the brake, 7mm spanner, Hope bore cap tools, and a cup of tea.
Now to start off with, and to make things easier, I've mounted the lever back on a set of bars. You can do this part on a bike, on a work stand, but if you've got it on a bars, it makes your life a whole lot easier. I've orientated the master cylinder so that it is on the level, and I've got my caliper here.
Start by removing the pads and putting them in a safe place so there's no risk of you contaminating them with any of the brake fluid. Squeeze the lever on the master cylinder, and as you do, the pistons will move out. Reset the pistons on the side of the borehole covers and work the side pistons with the side without on the inboard side a little bit more each time that you pull the lever. You'll eventually get to a point where the ones on the inboard side will be able to pop out. If there's more than one piston, keep doing this until one piston is able to pop out and you're able to work out the remaining one by hand. Once the inboard side is out, you're able to remove the caliper from the brake hose, wrap the end of the brake hose in some kitchen roll or a rag, and cable tie it to the bars so that there's no risk of it dripping or losing any of the fluid that's in that line. With the caliper removed, it's a simple case of removing the borehole caps and pushing the pistons through and out of the caliper. Make sure you have the correct size tool, as there are different sizes for different calipers. A simple case of threading an Allen key through the hole in the tool and using them a little bit like a spanner. The borehole caps off, drain any remaining fluid out of the caliper body, and then proceed to press the pistons out of the caliper, pushing them into the caliper where the brake pads would normally sit. If the calipers are seized, you can use a plastic coated tool to give a little bit of extra force, but just be careful you don't use any metal tools that may crack or damage the pistons themselves. With all the pistons removed, it's now a case of cleaning everything down with the isopropyl alcohol or the disc brake cleaner. If you're using either of these cleaning products, please make sure you do it in a ventilated space and that you take necessary precautions not to inhale any of the fumes. A cotton bud is really good at getting into the recess where the seals go to get any last oil or grease out of there. At this point you can use a pick or a needle to lift out the old seals from the caliper, give it another wee clean down, and then we're ready to fit the new seals. Once you've got your seal kit, a little bit of Hunter silicone lubricant will make things a lot easier. Apply a little bit of the silicone grease to the seal before inserting into the caliper, and a little bit in the recess where the seal is going to go as well. A fine brush makes this job a lot easier, but you can also use a cotton bud. Squeeze the seal and gently introduce it into the piston and work it by hand until it is fully seated and has no twists or kinks in the seal. Any twists or kinks will prevent the piston from entering and moving through the seal properly. Repeat this for all the pistons within your caliper. Once all the seals are in, paint a little bit of grease onto the outer edges of the piston itself and then place them into the drive side boreholes first, so the side without the covers. Make sure that the piston goes in perfectly straight, as if it goes at an angle it will be stiff and bind within the caliper. Repeat the process on the borehole side, again introducing them from the inside of the caliper, pushing towards the outside well. Apply a little bit of grease to the boreholes before refitting them to the caliper themselves, as this will help with seal and also make sure that they don't bind and seize themselves. Once the borehole caps are on, replace the bleed nipple, and then we're ready to reattach our caliper to the brake line, and then it's just a simple case of giving the brake a thorough bleed to make sure there's no air in the system. Reconnect the caliper to the brake hose, and then attach a rubber hose to the bleed nipple of the caliper in preparation of bleeding the brake. Remove the master cylinder cover and the seal beneath it, and place them safely to one side. With the hose attached and a bleeding block inserted into the caliper, open the bleed nipple and allow gravity to move fluid and air out the hose. Squeeze the lever to force fluid through, and with the lever closed, tighten the bleed nipple shut again. Open the nipple, squeeze the lever, close the nipple. All the while ensuring that you top up the master cylinder with .5.1 brake fluid and making sure that it never runs empty. As you repeat this process, the lever will begin to feel more and more firm until you have bled the entire system and air stops coming through rubber hose at the bleed nipple. Replace the seal and master cylinder cap, rolling the seal into place, making sure there's no air trapped beneath it, and tighten the master cylinder top cap back on, ensuring that you don't over torque the screws as they are quite small. Clean everything down with isopropyl or disc brake cleaner, and you are now ready to refit the pads and the whole brake back onto the bike. Job done. If you like this video and you want to follow the project and see more like this, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. And if you have any hints and tips on bleeding brakes and rebuilding calipers, don't forget to put them in the comments.